The first time I noticed something was off, Lori was doing crunches on our bedroom floor at 6 a.m. Not the weird part. Hell, we're both pushing 50. Everyone's suddenly into yoga or keto or whatever midlife panic looks like this week. No, what got me was the smell. Her sweat had this floral stink to it, like hotel soap. The kind they pump into those overpriced suites downtown. The same stench I'd caught on her gym bag last Tuesday when she'd sworn she was at spin class. She'd started taking calls in the garage, just helping Diane through her divorce. You know how she gets. But our security cam timestamps didn't match up. Funny thing about Ring cameras, they don't lie about when your wife's Prius isn't actually in the driveway during her supposed girls' nights. Even funnier? Finding a crumpled Marriott receipt in the plumbing aisle at Home Depot 6 days later, wedged between pipe threaders like some cosmic punchline. Our 25th anniversary date stamped right there in black ink, room 214, 7 p.m., champagne package. I stood there holding that slip of thermal paper, the fluorescent lights humming like a swarm of wasps. Lori'd sworn she was at urgent care that night. Food poisoning. Paul? Jesus? Can't you see I'm suffering? While I ate cold lasagna watching Die Hard for the 100th time. The receipt trembled in my grip, edges dissolving where her nail polish remover had smudged the ink. Peach Passion, her signature color. I'd know that chemical tang anywhere, same shade she'd worn since our honeymoon. Confronted her in the parking lot, leaning against my F-150 like some washed-up detective in a direct-to-TV thriller. You forget something at the hotel, Lore? Tossed the receipt on the dashboard between us. Watched her pupils blow wide, that telltale tick in her jaw she gets before spinning a lie. You're tracking me now? Her laugh cut sharper than a sawzall blade. Diane left that here when we met for margaritas last week. God, paranoid much. I let the silence hang, thick with exhaust fumes and 25 years of shared dental plans. Memorized the way her left thumb kept stroking her wedding band, smooth from decades of nervous habit. Margaritas at a Marriott? During happy hour at O'Malley's? You're slipping, babe. She froze mid-reach for the car door. First time in months she looked me dead in the eye. You've been drinking again, she hissed, all venom and vintage Lori deflection. I told Dr. Myers your stress management was just code for 3 olives in the trash can yesterday. I tapped the receipt against the steering wheel. You only eat them when you're nervous. Or lying. The way she recoiled, like I'd slapped her with a subpoena instead of grocery list trivia, told me everything. But here's the kicker. When I got home, that receipt was gone from the truck. Not in the glove box, not under the seats. Just vanished, same way Lori'd started disappearing into her phone every night, giggling at texts that aren't worth your blood pressure. Han. Found the crumpled remains later, though, tucked inside her Zumba shoes, right where she'd stashed the key card from our actual anniversary trip to Vermont. The one she'd lost at the ski lodge. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Just sat in the garage polishing my grandfather's old torque wrench, the metal gleaming like a promise. Let her think she'd won the round. Because here's what Lori forgot. I built this house. Every joist, every wire. Knew its bones better than I knew hers anymore. And when you've spent 30 years sniffing out rotted wood behind fresh drywall, you learn to trust the decay. The morning after the Marriott receipt incident, Lori left her phone charging next to the Keurig, a rookie mistake from someone who usually guards that thing like it's wired to a nuke. I didn't bother with passcodes. Just held it up to her sleeping face and watched the lock screen dissolve. 25 years of shared toothpaste brands finally paying off. Her Messages app was cleaner than a mortician's toolkit. But she'd forgotten about the recently deleted folder, a digital coffin stuffed with ghosts. 3 words glowed on the screen. G says 11 a.m. Sent yesterday at 6:43 p.m., right when she'd claimed to be returning Diane's crockpot. The number wasn't saved, but the area code screamed local. I memorized the digits like coordinates to a gas leak. Then I did something worse, checked her Fitbit dashboard. Turns out hot yoga burns fewer calories than midday hotel cardio. 10:57 a.m. Parked across from Brew Haven in my work van, dust from last week's drywall job still coating the windows. Lori's Prius rolled in at 11:02, her new Lululemon's hugging curves she'd suddenly developed after 2 decades of mocking basic gym rats. Through the fogged glass, I watched her adjust the rearview mirror 3 times, her tell before job interviews and our first prenatal class. He arrived in a Tesla Model X with vanity plates, Gregtown. Real subtle. The guy looked like a TED Talk threw up on a Brooks Brothers catalog, salt and pepper blowout, teeth so white they hurt my retinas. Lori's laugh carried across the street when he accidentally brushed pastry crumbs off her thigh. My Canon DSLR clicked softly from the passenger seat, zoomed in on her left hand. Still wearing the ring. Still twisting it like a stuck bottle cap. 2:14 p.m. Since when do you drink oat milk lattes? I asked casually that night, sniffing her abandoned cup on the counter. The foam had congealed into a Rorschach test of lies. She froze mid-swipe on her phone. Diane's lactose intolerant now. Right. I scraped the cup sleeve into the trash, revealing the Brew Haven logo and a lipstick smudge in peach passion. Funny. Their oat milk supplier's been on strike since Thursday. The microwave beeped, saving her from a response. When she pulled out her leftover pad thai, I noted the takeout container's shape too square for noodles. Exactly like Brew Haven's turkey paninis. 11:32 p.m. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I pretended to snore as she crept into the walk-in closet. Through the cracked door, I caught fragments in the vanity mirror's reflection. Told you he's clueless. Yes, Tuesday at the cabin. Her free hand worried the scar from her appendectomy, the one I'd held her through in '08 when she'd sworn I was her rock. The next morning, I found strands of silver blonde hair in her shower drain, 3 shades lighter than her natural color. Same hue as the salon Diane frequents. In the garage, Lori's gym bag reeked of cedarwood and sex, nothing like the chlorine stench of the YMCA. But the smoking gun? The Tesla pill. Found it under the passenger seat, one of those breath mints shaped like a muscle car, the kind realtors hand out like condoms. Greg's smug face grinned up at me from the tin, alongside his brokerage slogan, "Let me drive your dreams home." I pocketed the mint and spent lunch break parked outside his office. Snapped photos of every Mercedes and Rolex that entered. When Greg emerged arm in arm with a bleached blonde half his age, I noted her shoes, same limited edition Nikes Diane's Instagram showed her spoiling herself with last week. That night, Lori burned chicken parm to carbon while texting under the table. I waited until she showered to check her Apple Watch. The heart rate data spiked at 11:03 a.m., right when Greg's hand had slipped onto her knee. Left the watch face slightly crooked. By morning, it had been straightened. 3 days later, the cabin was harder to find. Took cross-referencing Diane's Pinterest boards with Greg's property listings, but there it was, a twee A-frame listed as investment opportunity on his site. Security cam footage showed Lori's Prius arriving every Tuesday like clockwork, always after her physical therapy. I didn't confront, didn't smash anything, just collected each lie like a contractor tallying code violations. The charity 5K bib in her trunk with Greg's brokerage logo. The benzodiazepine prescription she'd filled for Diane. The $437 Nordstrom charge for men's cufflinks in Greg's birthstone. The morning I found pine needles in her trunk from trees that don't grow within 50 miles of our home, I finally cracked. Not through yelling, through precision. Car needs an oil change. I mentioned over burnt toast. Mind if I take your Prius tomorrow? Her fork screeched against the plate. Why not your truck? Better gas mileage. I nodded at her untouched oatmeal. You've been driving a lot lately. The silence curdled. She never let me near the car. When the divorce papers finally landed, she'd wished that was all I'd taken. The private investigator smelled like cinnamon gum and moral flexibility. I found him through a guy who used to install hidden cameras in motel AC units, cash only, no receipts, the kind of professional courtesy that keeps marriages interesting. His card simply read M. Vargas, discreet inquiries, but the man himself looked like a retired wrestling coach who'd seen too many prenups. You want the boyfriend or the money trail? Vargas asked, popping another stick of gum as we sat in his unmarked van outside a strip mall tax office. Start with the boyfriend. I slid a manila envelope across the console containing Greg's Tesla pill tin and a strand of Lori's dyed hair. He's either screwing my wife or scamming her. Maybe both. Vargas's meaty fingers didn't flip through the photos so much as assault them. Greg Mullins. Local real estate hotshot. Divorced 2019, keeps a boat named Liquid Asset. He paused at a shot of Greg helping Lori into his Tesla. Oh, this prick. Turns out Vargas's sister had lost her retirement fund to one of Greg's exclusive mountain cabin investments. The file he delivered 3 days later read like a Noir screenplay. Exhibit A, security footage from a storage unit Greg rented under an alias. Contents included 9 identical family heirloom, diamond rings, and a case of Viagra with client initials sharpened on each blister pack. Exhibit B, testimonials from 3 former female clients, all recently divorced, all drained of assets after romantic getaways at Greg's properties. Exhibit C, Diane's Lexus parked overnight at Greg's marina, captured by a traffic cam the night before Lori's spa weekend with college friends. But the real kicker came via air fresheners. Guy uses black ice in all his listing cars, Vargas explained, slapping a spreadsheet on my workbench. Same scent we caught in your wife's Prius. Now check the timestamps. Cross-referenced Greg's open houses with Lori's sudden errands, every showing aligned with her yoga retreats and charity auctions. The math was elegant in its filth. 1. Greg seduces lonely wives. 2. Diane plays concerned confidant. 3. Both siphon funds through fake investments. I traced Diane's fingerprints through pawn shop receipts and Venmo trails. $2,000 here for consulting fees. $5,000 there from a shell company called Cedar Hollow Holdings. Same name as Greg's remote cabin where Lori's Prius kept magically appearing. Confrontation happened at Home Depot, of all places. Caught Diane in lighting fixtures comparing dimmer switches, her cart stacked with smart bulbs she couldn't afford on her alimony. Heard you were decorating, I said, grabbing a LED strip from her cart. Greg's place need mood lighting for his clients? Her neck flushed the exact shade of the Bordeaux Bliss paint samples she'd been clutching. Paul, sweetie, are you following me now? Just returning this. I dropped the Tesla pill tin into her purse, Greg's smug face glinting under the fluorescence. Tell your business partner his mints give Lori gas. The panic in her eyes confirmed everything. That night, I reverse-engineered their con like a condemned house. Diane stokes Lori's midlife insecurities. Greg offers investment opportunities. Both bleed our joint accounts dry. Found the smoking gun in Lori's Pinterest, a pinned article titled 10 Signs Your Husband is Financially Abusive dated 2 weeks before she'd withdrawn the $15,000. The comments section dripped with Diane's hallmark melodrama. Girl, you deserve a safety net broken heart. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, just sat in the glow of my laptop compiling spreadsheets while Lori snored downstairs, her phone buzzing with Greg's late-night client updates. When the first bank alert chimed at 3:17 a.m., $9, $872 transferred from our savings to Cedar Hollow Holdings, I finally understood the game and decided to play it better. The next morning, I baked Diane's famous zucchini bread, the recipe she'd taught Lori last summer. Left a loaf on her doorstep with a note. Family sticks together. Let's discuss your cut. Inside? A single Tesla pill. Her panicked call to Greg came through my garage bug within minutes. He knows about the marina. We need to move faster. I smiled around a mouthful of antidepressants and black coffee. Let them rush. Haste makes waste, and forensic accountants love desperate people. The first withdrawal was cleverly hidden between our mortgage payment and the electric bill, $2,500 labeled prescription copays. I only caught it because Lori used our joint Visa instead of her secret Amex. By the time I reverse-engineered her spreadsheets, she'd siphoned $15,327.43 across 12 transactions. Always odd cents. Always medical codes. I tested her with a trap straight from her own playbook. Printed fake lab results for Diane showing stage 3 ovarian cancer, left them face up on the printer. When Lori came home clutching a new Prada bag, Diane's old chemo tote, she wanted me to have it. I knew she'd taken the bait. We need to talk about the savings account. I set it over meatloaf, watching her fork skid across the plate. She deployed the classic Lori trifecta, trembling lips, sudden migraine, accusations of financial abuse. You're monitoring me now? After everything Diane's going through? Funny thing. I slid a printout across the table. St. Mary's billing department says Diane's last appointment was 2019. For a yeast infection. Her mascara didn't even smudge. Cash payments protect her privacy. I tapped the entry for $4,800 labeled Oncology Consult. Then why's your Lyft history show trips to Greg's brokerage instead of hospitals? The gaslighting shifted gears. Maybe if you weren't always working, I wouldn't need distractions. She hurled her napkin ring, a silver anniversary gift, at my chest. You've been checked out since the layoffs. I let it clatter to the floor, mentally noting the dent in our hardwood. Proof of volatility for the eventual restraining order. The real evidence came via vitamin bottles. While Lori sobbed in the shower, I inventoried her new stress supplements, ashwagandha gummies, melatonin sprays, a suspiciously unlabeled orange vial. The prescription number on her Xanax refill matched one filled for Greg last month. Same doctor, same dosage, same bullshit. But the masterstroke was in her knitting basket. Buried under half-finished scarves sat a receipt from Diane's medical fundraiser, $500, a plate dinner where Greg had auctioned off sunset cruises. The menu featured my wife's favorite Pinot Noir. The date? Our son's would-be 18th birthday, the anniversary we'd marked with silent tears and untouched cake. Confrontation number 2 happened at 3 a.m. I accidentally tripped the security system, knowing Lori would blame raccoons. When she rushed downstairs in Greg's college sweatshirt, the one she'd claimed was lost in a breakup purge, I was ready. Motion alert in the backyard, I muttered, squinting at the panel. Probably just the feral cats. She hovered in the doorway, phone clutched to her chest. You've been different lately. Different how? I adjusted the Nest Cam, capturing her reflection in the hallway mirror. Cold. Calculating. Her laugh sounded like a bag of screws in a blender. Like you're planning something. I made sure the mic caught every syllable. Just protecting what's ours. The next morning, I planted decoy bank alerts showing a fake $20,000 transfer to a hardware supplier. Lori's relieved exhale when she checked my laptop, thinking she'd dodged exposure, vibrated through my coffee mug. Let her believe she's winning. Final confirmation came via her car's onboard diagnostics. The Prius's GPS history revealed 7 trips to the cemetery where we'd buried our son, except Lori hadn't visited since the first anniversary. The coordinates were clever, but the timestamps overlapped with Greg's open houses. She turned our dead child into an alibi. That's when the anger crystallized into something useful. I began recording every conversation, every sniffle, every slam door. Let the courts hear how her grief morphs into venom after 9 p.m. The piece de resistance? Finding Diane's chemo wig in Greg's storage unit during my midnight recon, a $3,000 hairpiece still smelling of Lori's hotel issue shampoo. I left it draped over his Tesla's windshield with a note. Balding is hereditary. Ask Diane. When the inevitable blow-up came, Lori screaming about violating her trust, I simply played our security footage of her removing the wig from her trunk. Watched the color drain from her face as she realized. The hunter had become the electrician, and I just cut the power. The cabin photos arrived in a grease-stained Burger King bag, Vargas's idea of discretion. I spread them across my workbench like tarot cards predicting ruin. Lori laughing on a cedar deck I'd swear was built with my stolen tools. Greg flipping steaks on a grill I'd assembled for our son's ill-fated 16th birthday. But the real witchcraft was in the background. Zooming in on the third photo, I spotted Diane's ex-husband's infamous moose head mounted above the fireplace, same one he'd drunkenly auctioned off during their divorce. A reverse image search led me to the property records. The A-frame was still legally his, leased through a shell company called Evergreen Escapes. Fucking timeshares, Vargas grunted when I showed him the paperwork. Greg's been using them as fuck pads for years. 10 grand a month under corporate retreats. But the money trail had Diane's fingerprints all over it. Her Venmo showed $3,000 weekly payments from Evergreen labeled cleaning fees, same days Lori's Prius appeared on the cabin's driveway cam. I cross-referenced the LLC's filings with Diane's notary stamp, finding her loopy signature approving every bogus maintenance invoice. The kill shot came via Lori's knitting. While she visited Diane Reed, fucked Greg in a Best Western, I unraveled her latest project, a hideous orange scarf. Buried in the yarn skein was a micro USB drive containing Diane's iCloud backups. Their text read like a villainous sitcom. Diane September 14th. She's transferring another $5K tomorrow. Play up the cancer scare again. Greg September 14th. Tell her I'll match her investment. Wifey's retirement funds almost tapped. Diane September 15th. 60/40th split after the divorce. Remember the prenup clause. I ate cold pizza scrolling through their scheming, grease-smearing the screen where Greg had sent a selfie with Lori, my wife's face buried in his chest, his hand clutching a stack of hundreds from our safe. The revenge came in 3 acts. 1. The bait. I accidentally left a fake letter from Diane's bank on the printer, overdraft alerts threatening foreclosure. Lori immediately withdrew $8,000 in cash, stuffing it into a TJ Maxx bag reeking of Greg's cologne. 2. The switch. Using my contractor's key to Diane's storage unit, I replaced her emergency cash stash with prop money from a community theater production. The security tape later showed Greg screaming into a pillow when he discovered the Hollywood bills. 3. The reveal. Sent Diane an anonymous bouquet, lilies, her ex's funeral flower, arranged around the Tesla pill tin. Included a note, your cut of the $15,000 is in the usual place. Gee. The fallout was better than cable. Diane stormed Greg's office, caught on security cam waving the fake cash and screaming about identity theft. Lori panicked, transferring the remaining $12,000 from our Helic to a Cayman Islands account Vargas had helped me fabricate. But the crown jewel? Finding Diane's diamond tennis bracelet, the one she'd sworn was lost in her divorce, tucked under Greg's boat mattress. I mailed it to Lori's gym locker with a gift tag for our 25th. Gee. When she confronted Diane, the resulting catfight demolished a Pottery Barn display. I watched from the parking lot, recording every shriek of "You were supposed to protect me" for my late-night editing sessions. That's when it crystallized. They weren't just stealing my money. They turned our marriage into a fucking timeshare, Diane the timeshare salesman, Greg the maintenance fee. So I evicted them, hacked into Greg's brokerage calendar, rescheduling all his cabin showings to overlap with angry ex-clients. Planted STD pamphlets in Diane's church bulletin. Redirected Lori's Nordstrom deliveries to a women's shelter, the receipts mysteriously forwarded to Greg's wife. But the masterstroke? Replacing the Moosehead's eyes with nanny cams linked to Diane's ex-husband's Netflix account. Let him watch Greg defile his former hunting trophy. As the first lawsuit hit Greg's desk, I toasted with Lori's stolen Pinot, watching our nest egg compound in an offshore account she'd never trace. The game was rigged now, and I owned the casino. The money moved on a Tuesday, the same day Lori religiously had her roots touched up at Diane's salon. I timed it between her 10:32 a.m. caramel macchiato and 11:15 a.m. yoga class, using the security cam blind spot I'd installed back when we still worried about porch pirates. The offshore account, registered under Evergreen Contracting LLC, named after the fucking cabin where they'd screwed on my DeWalt tool bags. Lori's password was our dead son's birthday plus dollar, a combination so tragically predictable I cracked it during my third bourbon. Transferred $287,432.19 in 7 staggered wires, the exact amount we'd saved for Jake's college fund before the accident. Left her $15,000 in change, just enough to keep the panic manageable. The decoy was a masterpiece. Created fake invoices for a basement mold remediation we'd supposedly scheduled last month, complete with doctored photos of black spots on drywall. When Lori inevitably checked our bank portal, every Thursday at 9 p.m. like clockwork, she'd see $289,000 spent on emergency repairs. But the real art was in the props. I replaced her Victoria's Secret robe with an identical one from Target, stitching Evergreen Contracting's logo into the collar. Left a contractor's business card in Greg's Tesla pill tin. Buried fake asbestos reports under her Pilates magazines. Her meltdown came at 2:17 a.m. I pretended to snore as she stormed downstairs, her phone light bouncing off the walls like a deranged firefly. Listened through the vent as she called Diane. He's blowing our money on some scam contractor. Her whisper shriek carried better than a bullhorn. We need to move the rest before. I smiled into my pillow. Our money. The next morning, I accidentally left a printed bank alert on the fridge, the numbers highlighted in Jake's favorite neon green. Watched her coffee slosh over the rim as she read it. Basement mold. Her voice cracked like cheap laminate. Since when do we have mold? Since the hot water heater leak. I gestured to the spotless wall with my cordless drill. Tore out the drywall last week. You said the noise gave you migraines. She blinked at the pristine sheetrock, my midnight project, complete with fake water stains airbrushed over fresh mud. But $300,000. Premium antifungal spray. I tossed her the evergreen brochure I designed on Canva. EPA certified. Non-toxic. Worth every penny. The brochure's contact number rang straight to Vargas's burner phone. Her hands shook as she flipped through the glossy pages. You should have consulted me. You were busy. I revved the drill for emphasis. With Diane's treatments. The second phase activated when she Venmo'd Greg $5,000 labeled urgent care. I intercepted the payment through our shared iCloud, redirecting it to a fake clinic account. The auto-reply text, your STD panel came back positive, sent Greg into a spiral caught beautifully by his office nanny cam. But the piece de resistance was the chlorine. Every night after her spa dates, Lori's skin reeked of Marriott's cheap shampoo. I began spritzing her towel rack with pool chemicals, just enough to make Greg's cologne curdle. Watched her scrub her neck raw in the shower, convinced she was allergic to the new detergent. The final test came when I borrowed her phone to check a mold inspection photo. Left the offshore account login screen open behind her Pinterest app. She never noticed. But Diane did. Found her snooping through my truck glove box 2 days later, Diane's rhinestone nails digging for paper trails. Let her find the fake asbestos waiver signed Lori in shaky cursive, a forgery even a blind notary could spot. Paul. Diane's saccharine tone made my torque wrench twitch. These mold guys seem pricey. Good help costs. I yanked the waiver from her claws. Ask Greg, he's paying top dollar for his defense attorney. Her Botox held, but the vein in her temple pulsed Morse code for panic. That night, Lori tried accessing our safety deposit box, the one containing Jake's ultrasound photos. I'd swapped the key months ago, watched via the bank's security feed. Thanks, Vargas, as she begged the teller for emergency access to protect her children's legacy. The manager's call woke me at 9:47 p.m. She's here with a court order, he muttered. Says you're mentally unfit. Let her open it. The box contained 3 items. 1. Jake's first onesie. 2. Our wedding vows. 3. The Tesla pill tin from Greg's car. Her scream rattled the CCTV mic. I sipped single malt from a Yeti tumbler, watching her flee past the night deposit box. Transferred another $50,000 while her mascara streaked. By dawn, the offshore account held $412,000. $15K of it from Greg's own embezzled funds. Left Lori exactly $4.19 in checking, the price of a Marriott margarita. When she finally checked the balance, I was elbows deep in mold removal, humming along to her hyperventilation. Let her think the money was gone. The real treasure was buried 6 feet under, in a PVC pipe beneath Jake's dogwood tree, wrapped in his baby blanket. Compound interest makes graves grow. The confrontation went down in the organic produce aisle. Poetic, considering Lori's sudden obsession with pesticide-free living. I'd tipped off Greg's wife using a burner account named Concerned Parent 87, attaching photos of Lori's cabin escapades. Didn't expect her to bring props. Lori was comparing heirloom tomatoes when Karen Mullins materialized behind her, clutching a dozen eggs like grenades. I knew it was Karen from the world's best teacher tote bag Vargas had documented during his surveillance. Same one she'd used to carry Greg's settlement papers. Homewrecker. The word cut through the muzak like a cleaver. Lori turned, peach-colored reusable bag dangling from her wrist. Excuse me. Karen's handprint bloomed across her cheek before the security guard could blink. My husband's prostate medication's in your glove compartment, sweetheart. I filmed from behind a pyramid of artisanal squash, zooming in on the egg yolk dripping down Lori's Lululemons. Karen's follow-up line, delivered with the icy precision of a woman who'd graded 1,000 book reports, was pure gold. Next time you fuck a married man, check his browser history for herpes forums. Lori's mascara bled Jackson Pollock streaks as she scrambled toward the exit. Karen lobbed the remaining eggs with retired teacher accuracy. Direct hit on Lori's live, laugh, love tote. The real art was in the cleanup. While Karen lectured bewildered stalkers about moral decay, I pocketed the egg carton she'd brought. The underside bore Greg's cell number scribbled in Lori's loopy handwriting, next to a heart doodle using my favorite Framing Hammers model code. uploaded the video to a dummy YouTube channel titled Local Cheater Exposed before Lori even reached her car. Tagged the location, used Karen's real name in the metadata, then sat back as the shares rolled in. Damage control came via Diane, naturally. Found her scrubbing egg residue from Lori's passenger seat the next day, her Louis Vuitton loafers flecked with dried yolk. You're just gonna let that hag destroy her? Diane spat, elbow deep in Armor All wipes. Thought you'd be thrilled. I tossed her the egg carton. More content for your GoFundMe grift. Her silence cost me $87. That's how much Lori withdrew from our joint account that night. The exact price of a same-day eyebrow microblading appointment. The receipt showed a 3:15 p.m. time slot, but security footage from the salon's parking lot revealed Greg's Tesla arriving at 3:17. I let the video rack up 50K views before Karen's daughter recognized her mom's voice. The takedown notice arrived as Lori packed her spa weekend bag, same Gucci duffel she'd bought after draining Jake's memorial fund. Someone's cyberbullying me, she wailed, shoving her phone in my face. The video thumbnail showed her cowering under a kale display. Looks like Karen's got fans. I squinted at the comments. Slay Queen? Harsh. Her rage was beautiful. Until it wasn't. The danger emerged at PDA headquarters. Karen sobbing to reporters about harassment, clutching a teddy bear she claimed was from her grandkids. Never mind that Greg's vasectomy predated their marriage. Sympathy shifted like tide charts. Lori's tearful Facebook Live. I'm being targeted by unstable strangers. Gained traction among her wine mom followers. Diane even whipped up casseroles labeled Stop Domestic Abuse. Time to redirect the narrative. I edited the raw footage, trimming Karen's herpes line, but keeping Lori's frantic whisper of, Diane said you'd protect me. Synced it to Benny Hill music and set it as the hold tune for Greg's office line. Left Karen an anonymous tip about Lori's offshore transfers, the same ones funding her eyebrow rehab. Watched through binoculars as she keyed Greg's Tesla that night, her world's best teacher, totes swinging like a pendulum of vengeance. The final move required finesse. Printed screenshots of Lori's deleted tweets mocking Karen's frumpy cardigans, slipped them into the church bulletin before Sunday service. Let the congregation connect the dots between scripture and scandal. By Monday, both women were radioactive, Karen banned from Whole Foods, Lori dodging rotten fruit at school pickup. I archived the video's metadata, ready to leak the unedited version if either tried playing victim again. But the true victory? Finding Greg's Tesla abandoned at the marina, egg residue fossilized into the leather seats. The loan company's repo notice listed Diane as co-signer. As for Lori's Gucci duffel, currently holding $412,000 in small bills beneath Jake's dogwood tree. Rotting nicely. The wiretap app I'd installed on Diane's Land Rover picked up the conversation mid-thread. Transfer the fucking money by Friday, or I swear to Christ, Greg, I'll tell the IRS about your little Cayman timeshare. Her voice crackled through my Bluetooth earpiece as I repainted the garage, same seafoam green Lori had once called tacky. Greg's reply dripped with bourbon and desperation. You think I'm scared of your amateur hour bullshit? Paul's the one draining accounts, not me. I froze, roller mid-stroke. The security cam feed on my phone showed Diane parked outside Greg's marina, her windshield reflecting the pink glow of sunset, and my wife's Prius idling 3 spots down. Then make him scared. Diane's cigarette lighter clicked. Lori found his offshore transfers. We'll pin the whole scheme on him. Financial abuse, hidden assets, the works. All I need. The audio dissolved into static, but the recording's waveform told the story, a crescendo of extortion. I replayed it twice, paint dripping onto my boots like abstract condemnation. The evidence arrived via Tupperware. Diane's infamous tuna casserole appeared on our doorstep that night, reeking of mayo and malice. Buried beneath the soggy egg noodles, a flash drive containing screenshots of my offshore transfers, a fake domestic violence pamphlet circled in red, and Lori's signature forged on a restraining order draft. I ate the casserole cold, savoring the food poisoning risk. Texted Diane a photo of the empty dish. Needs more arsenic. P. Her response came via Lori's iPad, a shared notes app entry titled Marriage Counseling Talking Points that detailed my supposed history of controlling behavior. The revision timestamps matched Lori's recent therapy sessions. Time to weaponize their sisterly bond. I cloned Diane's cloud storage, discovering a treasure trove of blackmail material, including Greg's dick pics timestamped during Lori's bereavement retreats. Uploaded them to a burner Facebook account under Diane's name, tagged to local mom groups. The fallout was instant. Greg's yacht club revoked his membership. Diane's book club temporarily paused her membership. And Lori? She developed sudden carpal tunnel from deleting comments on her Instagram posts. But the true masterpiece required taxidermy. Remember the moose head from Greg's cabin? The one with my nanny cams? I mailed its left antler to Diane's doorstep, GPS tracker embedded in the velvet. Watched her drive straight to Lori's divorce attorney's office. Antler chunk thumping in her trunk like a metronome of stupid. Intercepted them in the parking garage, leaning against Diane's SUV with a Starbucks cup full of bourbon. Heard you're redecorating. I nodded at the antler. Rustic chic. Diane's veneer cracked. You're psychotic. And you're predictable. I tossed her the Tupperware container, now holding Greg's Tesla pill tin. Tell Lori I prefer metal utensils with my framed perjury charges. That night, I rewired Diane's ring cam to stream straight to my workshop monitor. Watched her shred documents in a panic, the paper shredder coughing up confetti of her own mortgage fraud. When she tried burning the scraps in her fireplace, the chimney backdraft set off smoke alarms linked to my phone. Let the fire department ask why her financial records included Lori's forged signatures. The coup de grace? Hacking Diane's smart fridge to order $800 worth of vegan cheese to Greg's cabin, delivered with a note, from your loving wife. Hugs and kisses, D. Lori's Venmo payment for the cheese, Diane's medical supplies, hit as I finalized the divorce filing. The timestamp, 2:19 a.m. The memo, for silence. I screenshotted it, set it as Greg's office screensaver. By dawn, Diane's blackmail plot had metastasized into a public feud with Greg's new mistress, a Botox shark of a divorce lawyer who recognized Diane's MO from 3 alimony cases prior. Left them circling each other in the courthouse parking lot, Diane's counterfeit Prada bag spilling notarized lies as I served Lori papers at her precious book club. The moral? Never bring Tupperware to a data war. The IRS tip went out via Greg's own Tesla touchscreen, a stroke of irony I savored while parked outside his marina. Hacked into the car's infotainment system during his latest cabin rendezvous, uploading 7 years of falsified deductions between bass-heavy playlist downloads. The piece de resistance? A looped audio file of Diane's voice whispering 1099 forms every time he shifted gears. Greg's unraveling began at the country club brunch Lori had begged me to attend. Watched him choke on a mimosa as his phone buzzed with IRS alerts, the Tesla's autopilot conveniently locking him inside until agents arrived. His Rolex left greasy smears on the window as he pounded the glass, fitting, since I'd coated the door handles with lube from his boat's maintenance kit. Lori's descent followed calculus precise. 3 days of frantic Venmo pleas to Diane, 2 maxed-out credit cards, 1 pawned wedding band. She never noticed the fake bank alerts I'd programmed into her phone, showing phantom deposits whenever she checked balances. The final straw? Discovering Diane's loan. Offers charged 27% interest, compoundable hourly. She's family. Lori screamed at me over burnt toast, her eyes wild as a cornered raccoon's. You have to help me. I slid her a printout of Diane's offshore transfers, $182K siphoned from Lori's pilfered accounts. Family's cheaper in bulk. The danger emerged via Greg's boat logs. Vargas intercepted his GPS history showing midnight loops past our house, speed patterns matching those of a stalker casing joints. Found a Glock case under the Tesla's floor mats, serial numbers filed off but reeked of Diane's rosewater perfume. Time to redirect the hunt. I seeded Greg's Dropbox with falsified emails between Diane and an IRS auditor, timestamped during their recent spa day. Attached scans of Lori's forged signatures on his fraudulent expense reports. Let him connect the dots through bourbon-soaked paranoia. Their showdown played out in 4K via the moose cam. Diane's scream when Greg smashed her Mercedes windshield harmonized beautifully with the loons on the lake. She retaliated by leaking his client list to the SEC, emails I'd helpfully drafted in her voice months prior. The coup landed in my lap via certified mail, Greg's desperate offer to settle privately, accompanied by Lori's love letters and a USB drive of their cabin footage. The drive's metal casing bore microscratches from her engagement ring, still grinding away at something, even in betrayal. I mailed it all to Karen Mullins with a sticky note, "For your memoir." Lori's final plea came via our son's old baby monitor app, a vulnerability Diane had exploited to eavesdrop. Listened as she sobbed to Greg about fleeing the country, her escape fund now just $4.19 and a half-used Sephora gift card. "I'm tapped," she whimpered. Diane took everything. Greg's silence lasted 3 cigarette drags. Should have picked a smarter sister. The line went dead. So did Lori's Instagram facade, her last post, a quote about resilience, now buried under Karen's 1-star Yelp reviews. I celebrated by burning Greg's Tesla pill tin in our fire pit, the mini smoke blending with Lori's frantic calls to divorce attorneys. Watched the embers dance like dying pixels, each spark a decimal point in his crumbling empire. But triumph tastes acidic when your alibi's a gravestone. Found myself at Jake's plot at 3 a.m., torque wrench in hand, wondering if he'd recognize the monster watering his dogwood with single malt. The GPS tracker on Diane's Land Rover pinged, heading toward Greg's Marina with a speed suggesting murder or menopause. I let them collide. After all, the IRS loves a cooperative witness. And I'd left the moose cam rolling. Lori's accusation arrived via couples therapy homework, a worksheet titled "Emotional Desertion in Modern Marriage" left on my workbench. Her answers scrawled in the frantic cursive of a woman who'd Googled gaslighting tactics during commercial breaks. I circled her bullet points with my contractor's red pen, adding margin notes like "See Section 12.3 of our prenup" and "Per your Tinder activity 11/14." Her stage breakdown came during dinner, a vegan lasagna I'd laced with Benadryl to ensure slurred theatrics. "You've been emotionally unavailable since Jake," she trailed off strategically, fork trembling like a bad community theater prop. I activated concerned husband mode, nodding along as my phone recorded every crocodile tear. "You're right, Lore. Let's fix this." Slid over retainer agreements from a marriage counselor, one I'd already bribed to diagnose her with histrionic financial infidelity. The trap was in the footnotes. Buried in page 17 of the divorce petition, filed during her healing retreat at Greg's now foreclosed cabin, was a timestamp referencing our security footage from 10/19. The night she'd sworn was our reconnection date, but actually showed her sneaking back in at 3 a.m. with cedar needles in her hair. A paralegal's typo could have linked it to the wrong cloud folder, exposing my surveillance. I let the error marinate for 72 hours, tracking her lawyer's email activity through a phishing link disguised as a Pottery Barn coupon. When the moron finally opened the attachment, a decoy PDF of fake HVAC invoices, I knew he'd missed the smoking gun. Lori's counterattack involved Jake's baby blanket. She draped it over our bed like a gilt shroud, drenched in the lavender oil she knew gave me migraines. "You've erased him from our lives." Funny. I plugged in the UV flashlight I'd used to find Greg's semen stains on said blanket months prior. Memories clearer under blacklight. Her recoil cracked the headboard. The legal chess moved through pawn shops. Lori's lawyer subpoenaed my mold remediation receipts, unaware I'd backdated transfers to a shell company sharing Diane's EIN. The night before the deadline, I accidentally left a draft motion about Jake's trust fund on the fridge, the one she drained to buy Greg's boat fuel. Watched through the Nest cam as she photographed each page, her reflection warped into stainless steel. Let her lawyer waste 3 billable hours discovering the account had been closed since 2017. But the true gamble was the notary. I hired Vargas's cousin to stamp the divorce papers, a former DMV clerk with a side gig forging car titles. The commission number traced back to Diane's disgraced ex-husband, creating a paper trail of plausible deniability thicker than Lori's tear stick mascara. Her lawyer's fatal flaw? Overlooking the embossed seal's tiny initials, GM for Greg Mullins. "This is clearly fraudulent." Lori shrieked at the mediation office, waving the document like a white flag. I sipped burnt vending machine coffee. "You're right. Let's verify it." Played the security footage of Diane forging Greg's signature on a lien against their cabin, the same notary stamp glinting in her manicured grip. Watched the mediator's eyebrows climb into his hairline as Lori's face achieved Pantone 186C. Technicality, her lawyer mumbled, suddenly fascinated by his loafers. I slid over a fresh petition. Like your client's marriage vows. Signed it with the pin Lori gave me on our 10th anniversary, the one she'd bought Greg in matching rose gold. Let the ink pool like blood from a gutted contract. As the clerk filed the papers, I texted Greg's parole officer the cabin's coordinates. Attached Diane's video confession from the moose cam. Final touch? Swapping Lori's anxiety meds with decough pills. Let her tremble through withdrawal while the walls closed in. The house was quiet that night. Too quiet. Until the garage camera pinged, Lori trying to hotwire my truck with a bobby pin and wine mom resolve. I reset the alarm from bed, chuckling as her scream rattled the motion lights. Checkmate had never sounded sweeter. Diane cornered me in the canned goods aisle, her idea of subtlety, apparently. I was comparing sodium levels in chicken broth when her talons dug into my shoulder. The Cayman account, she hissed, breath reeking of menthols and moral bankruptcy. Hand it over, or Lori finds out about your little PVC time capsule. I noted the security cam above us, its red light blinking in time with her nicotine patch. You mean the one under Jake's tree? I palmed a can of condensed milk, the label warped from her sweaty grip. Should have dug deeper than 6 feet. Her smirk faltered when I pried open the can's false bottom, revealing microfilm of her offshore transfers. The grocery store fluorescence caught the Cyrillic text, Russian nesting accounts even Putin would admire. Cute. Diane's laugh sounded like a clogged garbage disposal. Too bad your fingerprints are all over that Ukrainian shell company. Funny story. I tapped the expiration date, September 14th, the day we'd buried Jake. Turns out grieving fathers make great patsies. Especially with notary friends who owe favors. Her phone buzzed with a calendar alert. 3 p.m., destroy Paul. I swiped left, pulling up the Moosecam feed of her shredding Greg's blackmail files. Need directions to the marina? Greg's already warming up the chainsaw. The standoff migrated to the parking lot, Diane's Lexus trunk creaking open to reveal Jake's stolen fireproof safe. You really thought encrypting it with his birthday was smart? She kicked the dented metal. Took Greg 12 seconds to crack. I crouched, brushing snow off the combination lock. Notice the scratch marks? Her veneer cracked as I spun the dial. Jake's stillbirth weight, 7 pounds 2 ounces, not his birth date. The safe popped open, revealing Diane's own forged will and the Tesla title Greg had lost during his IRS audit. Pro tip. I pocketed the title, leaving the will flapping in the January wind. Never hide evidence in your victim's dead son's memorabilia. Her retaliation came via Lori's Instagram, a tearful live stream about financial abuse, filmed in front of Jake's defaced grave. The headstone glittered with fresh spray paint, liar in Lori's favorite teal acrylic. I let the video trend for 6 hours, long enough for Greg's probation officer to recognize the cemetery's distinct oak tree from his ankle monitor logs. Then dropped the hammer. 1. Leaked Diane's safe combo to the SEC. 2. Airtagged her passport in the Tesla's glove box. 3. Mailed Lori the security footage of Diane vandalizing Jake's grave. The piece de resistance? Swapping Diane's blood pressure meds with caffeine pills, her subsequent 3 a.m. ER visit perfectly timed with a forensic accountant's raid on her storage unit. You're insane, she screamed from her hospital bed, her pole rattling as I adjusted her morphine drip. And you're predictable. I pressed play on her burner phone's voice memos. Hours of Diane coaching Lori to fake panic attacks for court. Hear that beeping? That's not the heart monitor. It's Greg's boat sinking with your offshore paper trail. Left her clutching the call button like a detonator. Knowing the real bomb was already ticking, the Cayman account statements I'd slipped into her discharge papers, notarized with Greg's forged signature. As the elevator doors closed, I texted Vargas one word. Antler. Let the Moosecam's 4K footage of Diane's insurance fraud do the rest. Checkmate smelled like antiseptic and burned bridges. The ambush unfolded between quinoa salad and a dog-eared copy of Eat, Pray, Love, Lori's latest literary shield against self-awareness. I'd chosen her book club's healing circle at the community center for its acoustics. The vaulted ceilings amplified humiliation like a divine sound engineer. Greg arrived first, reeking of gas station vodka and failed brinkmanship. His Tesla had been repossessed that morning, GPS tracked via the AirTag I'd epoxy glued to his boat shoes. He staggered past the mindful living banner, finger jabbing at Lori's shocked face. You bankrupt me with your needy bullshit. Spittle flecked her Chardonnay. That cabin wasn't even zoned for septic. Lori's paperback clattered to the floor, splayed open to page 42. Sometimes the bravest thing is to walk away. I timed the process server's entrance to that exact sentence. Lori and Whitaker? The guy looked like a UPS driver cosplaying a bailiff. You've been served. Her scream harmonized with the Tesla repo truck backing into the parking lot. The papers fluttered onto the charcuterie board, landing in brie like a legal fondue. Greg lunched for them, tearing the asset disclosure sheet. You bitch. You said he was broke. The room froze mid-sip. 30 suburban moms clutched their stemless glasses, iPhones already recording. I leaned against the fire exit, nursing a Topo Chino spiked with Xanax dust. Lori's mask slipped first. This is your fault. She hurled a gluten-free cracker at me, her wedding band glinting mid-trajectory. You turned him against me. Actually, I nodded at Greg's left hand, where his Rolex had been replaced by an ankle monitor. Credit Suisse did that. The meltdown metastasized. Lori accused Diane of witchcraft. Greg sobbed into the hummus about IRS liens. Someone's multipopeed on the meditation cushions. My victory curdled when Lori ripped off her sweater, exposing the live laugh love tank top she'd worn during Jake's stillbirth. You're just like your father. Her scream echoed off the yoga mats. A cold, heartless monster. The room's sympathy pivoted like a weather vane. Moms who'd laughed at Greg's arrest now glared at me over organic Merlot. How could you? Hissed the club president, cradling Lori like a reality show martyr. I exited stage left, tossing Greg's house keys into the quiche. Marriott's doing a discount for fraudsters this month. But the real blow came via Yelp. By midnight, my contracting business was review-bombed with one-star rants about emotional terrorism. Karen Mullins even organized a candlelit vigil outside my office, her Justice for Homewreckers sign dripping wax on my freshly sealed driveway. Found Lori's final jab in the truck bed, a shredded copy of our wedding photos, each slice carefully avoiding her face. Buried beneath the pile, Jake's ultrasound image, unscathed. The hollowness hit at 3 a.m., bourbon in hand, staring at the security feed of Greg passed out in Lori's Prius. Her Apple Watch alerts buzzed nonstop, overdraft fees, restraining order updates, Diane's 47 missed calls. I muted the notifications. Let the silence swallow us both. Checkmate tastes like $12 Merlot and dog piss. The knock came at 2:47 a.m., 3 hesitant raps that couldn't decide between remorse and manipulation. I opened the door to find Lori drenched in November sleet, wearing the threadbare Cornell sweatshirt I'd bought her during Jake's first ultrasound. Her eyeliner pooled in the hollows of her eyes like oil spills. He used me. Her chapped lips split on the lie. Greg threatened to release private photos if I didn't. I let the silence curdle, tracking her shivers through the Nest Cam's night vision. Noticed the Walmart bag clutched in her left hand. Pills? Booze. Turned out to be our wedding album, warped from the ring. We can fix this. She pressed the soggy pages to her chest, a martyr auditioning for sainthood. For Jake. I palmed the voice recorder in my robe pocket. Which part needs fixing? The embezzlement? The cabin sex tapes? Or Diane's cut of our 401k? Her sob hitched like a broken transmission. I'll do anything. Therapy. Mediation. Chastity. The word curdled in her mouth. I led her to the kitchen, its sterile LEDs exposing every fissure in her Botox. Set 2 mugs of chamomile between us, hers laced with electrolyte powder to counter the Xanax I'd smelled on her breath. Remember our vow? She traced the rim with a chipped nail. Through sickness and health. Funny, I slid my phone across the quartz. Play track 7. Diane's nicotine cackle erupted first. Paul's such a dinosaur. Thinks VPNs are STD clinics. Then Lori's voice, honeyed with malice. At least Greg lasts longer than his prenup negotiations. The timestamp glowed, September 14th, Jake's deathiversary. Recorded via the baby monitor app as they sorted cash from our safety deposit box. Lori's mug shattered against the subway tile. That's edited. Diane forced me to. Track 12. Her own giggle pierced the air. Should have put world's most gullible husband on his tombstone. I let the audio roll. Their plans to fake my dementia, the mocking impressions of my panic attacks, the wet smack of Greg's kiss against her mic. She lunged for the phone. I yanked it back, revealing the Band-Aid on my wrist from where she'd accidentally scalded me with ramen last week. You win. She crumpled like a subpoena. Just don't let the kids see me like this. We don't have kids. The suicide threat came via text 14 minutes later. A blurry photo of my old revolver beside an empty Ambien bottle. Caption, "You'll regret this." I replied with a screenshot of her Apple Watch data. Resting heart rate 68 BPM, stress levels low. Attached the GPS pin from her Walmart trip showing she'd bought candy corn and dog treats, not pills. Her follow-up call dripped with venom. "I'll hang myself from Jake's tree. The media will crucify you. Use the yellow rope." I zoomed in on her live location, Greg's motel parking lot. It's rated for 400 pounds. The cops found her passed out in room 214, poetic fuck you, with a Twizzler noose around her neck and Diane's forged suicide note. I'd preemptively emailed the security footage to her lawyer, along with Greg's Yelp review of the motel's thread count. At dawn, I replanted Jake's dogwood, roots coiled around the PVC time capsule like a steel embrace. Doused Lori's remaining belongings in cedar oil and lit a bonfire hot enough to melt her delusions. The hollowest victory isn't in the kill. It's in no longer flinching at the scream. The courtroom fluorescence buzzed like a trapped hornet, bleaching Lori's tear-streaked contouring into a kabuki mask. I laid my evidence on the oak bench, warmer to the touch than my wife's hands had been in years. "Exhibit 12, I said, nodding to the paralegal. The moose cam footage played silently on the overhead monitor, Lori and Greg toasting with champagne flutes stolen from our wedding set, Diane notarizing documents on my son's coffin-shaped keepsake box. The judge's bifocals fogged as I walked through the spreadsheets. You'll note the Venmo transfers align with Ms. Whitaker's salon appointments and Mr. Mullins's Viagra prescriptions. Lori's lawyer choked on his kombucha when I produced the Tesla pill tin from my breast pocket. For the record, this mint container was found in Mrs. Whitaker's vehicle, containing traces of Mr. Mullins's DNA and alprazolam. Diane's scream came during the asset ruling. "You sociopath." She vaulted the railing, rhinestone claws aimed at my jugular. Security tackled her onto the court reporter's desk, her Louis Vuitton scarf snagging the stenograph keys in a poetic staccato. FRUD. Lori's apology slithered through the chaos. "Paul? Jake wouldn't want this." Her trembling finger traced our engraved wedding date in the bench's varnish. For 3 breaths, I saw her, not the cheater, not the thief, but the girl who'd held my hand through stillbirth contractions. The woman who'd saved my half-smoked cigars in a Altoids tin labeled P's Bad Ideas. Then I unspooled the final exhibit. Security footage of Lori swapping Jake's ashes for flour during last year's memorial brunch, her laughter tinny through the iPhone mic, more carbs for the car brain. The gavel cracked. Assets awarded. Diane spat curses through bloody lips as they cuffed her. Lori collapsed into a pew that had hosted better liars. Outside, autumn air bit through my suit, threadbare at the elbows from nights spent hunched over evidence. The torque wrench weighed heavy in my briefcase, its calibrated grip outlasting vows, children, common decency. A notification chimed. The Cayman account had cleared. Victory tasted like staticky courtroom coffee and Diane's bail bondsman's cologne. I left Lori's wedding ring in a bus station locker. The combo texted to Greg's parole officer. "Let them claw through the relics." The house sold itself. But in the empty garage where Jake's crib once stood, I found her final sabotage, my old work boots filled with quickread, laces knotted in nooses. I left them hardening in the dark. Some tombs fit better than others. Part 15. The sold sign stabbed into our lawn like a tombstone. Lori's final act of defiance? Leaving her Zumba DVDs in the empty master closet, their neon cases glowing in the dark like radioactive guilt. I tossed them into the dumpster with the rest of her curated life, yoga mats still smelling of Greg's cologne, framed cross-stitch mantras about gratitude she'd stitched during cabin weekends. The house sighed as I locked the door, its bones creaking relief. Found her studio apartment through a PI's drunken slip-up, third-floor walk-up above a vape shop, windows streaked with decades of bad decisions. Drove past once, just to watch her haul a thrifted mattress up the stairs, Diane's shrill voice chasing her from a U-Haul. This is temporary, Lore. We'll sue. Though we hung limp as the "Bless This Mess" sign Lori nailed crookedly to her door. Greg came later. He materialized in my condo parking garage like a greasy phantom, Tesla long gone, replaced by a shopping cart of moldy contractor bags. His TED Talk smile had curdled into meth mouth, salt and pepper hair matted into a bird's nest. But the eyes, still that same shark's gleam, even as he pawed at my windshield with hands blistered from dumpster diving. Paul. His breath fogged the glass, reeking of malt liquor and desperation. I just need $1,000 for a suit. Job interview. I killed the engine, let the silence stretch. Memorized the holes in his knockoff Cole Haans, the same shoes he'd bragged about customizing in Milan while screwing my wife. $50, he wheezed. 20. Christ, man, I'll take a McMuffin. The torque wrench under my seat hummed. Instead, I fished a crisp 20 from my wallet, the same denomination Lori had once withdrawn to buy Jake's doomed birthday cake. Held it up to the light, revealing the microfilm serial numbers Vargas had planted for the IRS. Greg lunged, but I yanked it back. First, I said, nodding at his trembling fist, show me the tin. His face spasmed. The Tesla pill tin, tarnished and cracked, emerged from his pocket like a cursed relic. Inside, 3 mints fused to foil by time and sweat. Still loyal, I mused, snapping a photo. Guess some habits die harder than others. The 20 floated down, landing in a grease puddle shaped like Florida, where Greg's boat had sunk. He scrambled, tearing the bill on a rusted nail. You're a monster, he hissed, but the insult crumbled into a wet cough. And you're predictable. I revved the engine, watching him flinch. The Cayman account numbers on that bill. Trace it, and the feds will make prison feel like a carnival cruise. He froze, the 20 suddenly toxic in his grip. Why? Because you'll try anyway. Drove off as he screamed obscenities, his reflection shrinking in my rearview. But halfway home, I realized my mistake, the tin. Greg hadn't taken the last mint. I had. Found it wedged in my cup holder, peach passion lipstick still smeared on the rim. Lori's shade. Her signature. Her tell. Pulled over, dry heaving onto asphalt still warm from my tires. The mint dissolved bitter on my tongue, chemical aftertaste burning like her lies. The condo felt sterile that night. No creaks, no ghosts. Just an empty safe where Jake's ultrasound once lived and a security feed of Greg limping past a dumpster, clutching that 20 like a rosary. I poured bourbon into a moving box labeled fragile, toasting the hollow victory. The money was mine. The house, the cars, the vindication, all mine. But in the silence, I missed the chaos. The fight. The enemy I understood. The next morning, I mailed Greg's tin to Lori's studio, postage due. Let her choke on the past. As for the 20, the IRS seized it 3 days later. Turns out, even monsters pay taxes. The condo smells like fresh paint and poor decisions. I'm perched on a cardboard box labeled kitchen that's actually full of tax returns and Lori's old vibrators, scrolling through a burner account I told myself I'd never use. Her Instagram's all coffee-stained aprons and forced smiles now. Lori Jean Whitaker, breakfast waitress at Jake's Diner. Cruel fucking touch. Hashtag new beginnings between photos of rubbery pancakes. The engagement ring's gone, replaced by a silicone wedding band from the 99-cent store. I zoom in on the background of her latest post. Recognize the chipped laminate counter from where Greg once ate a grand slam breakfast the morning after draining our helic. His reflection warps in the syrup dispenser behind her. Unshaven, wearing a stained polo with the diner logo. Manager now, apparently. The whiskey pours itself. Same single malt from the night I served papers. Same Yeti tumbler she'd bought me for hydration during chemo. Her cover story for the cabin weekends. The ice cracks like vertebrae. 3 rapid taps on my phone. Delete account. Erase history. Factory reset. The screen goes dark, reflecting the empty gun safe where Jake's ultrasound used to live. Victory tastes like top-shelf peat moss and Zillow alerts. The Cayman balance glows from my fridge, printed in 72 points font and magnetized next to a coupon for 20% off couples counseling. Her final post lingers like nerve gas. A boomerang of Greg playfully swatting her ass with a menu, captioned, "Work wives are the best wives." Kiss mark. Same ass I'd watched dimple under 25 years of marriage, now flattened by non-slip Skechers. The tumbler shatters against the backsplash. Not angry, calculated. Needed an excuse to use the emergency glass coverage Diane's insurance fraud paid for. Midnight finds me reorganizing the toolbox, each wrench nested in foam like relics. The torque wrench gleams, its grip worn smooth from nights spent imagining cranial fractures. Beneath it lies the Tesla pill tin, emptied of mints, but full of microSD cards documenting every lie. The Ring app pings, motion at my old house's driveway. Lori's there in a bathrobe that used to be mine, dumping Diane's ashes into a storm drain. The video quality's shit, but I'd recognize that furious hunch anywhere. I screenshot her middle finger to the security cam, texted to Greg's parole officer with a face-blowing a kiss emoji. Pour another drink with the good hand. The condo's quiet. Too quiet. Even the ghosts got bored. In the bathroom mirror, a stranger smirks back, hairline retreating like Omaha Beach, eyes sharpened to ice picks. I trace the crack in the glass where Lori's wedding band left its mark during the final fight. The phone buzzes with a calendar alert I didn't set. Jake's 25th birthday cake. I mute it, but not before saving the cloud backup. Tomorrow, I'll buy curtains. Maybe a plant. Tonight, I let the Cayman interest compound and the security feeds roll. Greg scrubbing syrup off vinyl booths. Lori counting tips with hands that once cradled our stillborn son. Diane's urn bobbing in the storm drain like the piece of shit she was. The tumblers already empty again. Some prisons come with ocean views.